You're listening to the Back Home Network, presented by Homefield Apparel.
RightUpMeridian, baby.
All right, folks, welcome back. Scott here with you. Oh, man, that sucked. That just really sucked. It's funny, I try my best to prepare, somewhat for these podcasts, and I have a bunch of tabs that I pull up. I have a program that opens up all the tabs that I need to research for the Pacers pod. I can't even pull it up. I'm not even sure I want to look at stats from last night. I'm having a real hard time. There's a bunch of podcasts I want to listen to. I don't even know if I want to get into it. And it's funny. Tony and I started this podcast. The idea was kind of doing it on a weekly basis. So it is a little weird. We're doing game by game in the playoffs, but every game is obviously telling a story. And it's big time important stuff. That sucked last night. I was thinking about it and I'm going to get Tony on here in a second. He was just staring at me like, dude, when's my turn? But it's like, I think had we gotten blown out, it would have been like, all right, Celtics are good. Like, this is a really good team. If we would have played them tough and then they just hit some wild shot at the end, it's like, damn, that's a heartbreaker, but we're good. We can come back from it. The manner in which we lost really sucks, where it's just like, it's there, you have it in your hands. It was very reminiscent to me of the games you see in March Madness, where you see a team trying to beat a 16 or a 15 seed or trying to pull that upset, like the 5-12, and they just don't. They leave way too many opportunities for the good team to win. It's like, oh, dude, you got to hit your free throws. Oh, man, you can't turn that over. Like, that's what it felt like. And then, yeah, the Celtics won. We'll talk about the ramifications. But damn, that sucked. That one really, really stings. With that preamble, Tony, what's up, man?
Yeah, man, that was a tough one. Like, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Just, yeah, I just, I can't even really like wrap my head around it. Like, it's like, it sounds silly because it's just a game, but it's like literally like lost sleep last night about it. Like,
Same.
Just like what a missed opportunity for the Pacers. Like, it just, like you said, we're going to talk about the ramifications and what that means going forward. But like the manner, like you said, in which they lost, like had the ball up 2 different possessions and just couldn't close it out and just left the door wide open. And man, it just really, really, really sucks. And like you said, it's one of those things where like, I want to see analysis on the game and I want to dive into some of the stuff, but then at the same time, it's like, do I really want to relive that? Like,
Yeah.
do I really want to hear about that again?
I don't. I really don't. Like, I've not watched much. I haven't read much. I'm not sure I'm ready to do it. And again, it's one game. It's a long series. It's not the end of the season. But damn. All right, so we're gonna let's break through. Let's break out some of the things. So we're up by 3. I think there's actually 2 things that have not been talked about enough, and a couple things that have probably been talked about too much. So I think it all started to go downhill when Halliburton just dribbles the ball out of bounds, which to me, it's like that just sucks. Like, that's just it just happens. He wasn't, he can be a little bit careless with the ball. He's got great handles. It's not very tight like Kyrie. It's kind of out there and looping. And sometimes he can kind of mess around. Like, he'll do the thing where he'll like walk up and kind of do the big dribble and take 3 steps up and get it. And it looked like that's kind of what happened. It also just looked like, just like one of those, one out of every 10,000th dribble he's going to do is just going to be an off dribble. And it sucks. I'm not even mad. It's just one of those, like, dude, even professionals kind of screw up every so often. It's very human. I don't know. That's where I'm going to start unless you want to go back further.
Yeah. The start of the game was like a punch in the face, right? The 12-0 start, that was that to me, I was like, man, like they're going to get boat raced. And so like the Pacers' resilience, because they did multiple times get down double digits, and then would like punch back, and then finally it seemed like they were landing the haymaker, right? They get up 3, and then that turnover happens, like you said. And yeah, it's just like a fluke thing. It's not like I know Drew Holiday is a good defender and all that good stuff, but it's not like the defense really was like forcing that turnover. And that it was kind of the issue all night, right? Like 22 turnovers for the Pacers, pretty uncharacteristic. I know Boston's got good D, but Halliburton even talked about like, it was more careless things on the Pacers end, more so than it was, on the Boston in forcing things. So to me, it kind of spelled the evening because it was like bookended by, the game started with Aaron Nesmith just like throwing it straight to the Celtics and then getting a layup. And then, it kind of ended because the Pacers turned the ball over. Obviously like overtime happened, but I think we all knew once that 3-pointer went in by Jaylen Brown, it's going to be a steep hill to climb for the Pacers to win in overtime. So yeah, man.
Yeah, so
really,
it starts
really
with that. It
stinks.
starts with that Halliburton turnover, and then they get the ball, goes out of bounds, and so you have the inbounds with 10 seconds to go or 11 seconds. You're up by 3. I mean, all you got to do is get the ball inbounds, and that's what everyone's talking about. The thing that I'm curious about is the action was for Siakam, which I feel like hasn't been talked about enough. Is like I don't even know why they were going for Siakam to get the ball. Like, go bring Miles Turner up there and just throw it up and let him grab it. Anybody else on the team is a better free throw shooter than Siakam. So I think that was also concerning because I'm watching that and I see it was like, I think Halliburton and somebody else, because Nembhard was throwing the ball in and Siakam there. And like they start, I saw Halliburton kind of fade away, Siakam dive. And I'm like, why are we, even before they couldn't get it in, I'm like, why are we going for Siakam? And then it's just a bad pass. And again, Nembhard, you had a timeout there. If it wasn't the right play, call a timeout. But I mean, that's a very tough mistake to make, to not even get it in, not even kill any clock, not even give yourself a chance to miss free throws. But I also wonder why we're going to Siakam at that point.
Yeah, and it's like worst case scenario, just like throw the ball towards your basket.
Right.
Like it's one of those things where the Pacers like outsmarted themselves and we're thinking too far in the future of like, well, we're going to need that timeout maybe next possession or whatever the case may be. And it's like, dude, just call the timeout, take the ball out on your side of the floor and in a comfortable place, So that's the thing is like where they took that ball out is not a common place in the NBA game that the ball is taken out.
You're right.
Like that, it's probably taken out in that spot, I don't know, once every 10 games. Like, I can't think of very often that you're taking it out on the opponent's sideline and being pressed. Like that situation is not
it's a great point.
Practiced very often, I'm sure. Didn't really have a play as we saw. Like, they probably have one play for that situation and to get Siakam the ball. And like that didn't make sense. So to me, it was just like maybe you do that and like you tell Nembhard like you must get the ball inbounds, and if you can't, call timeout. But like to me, it's like just call the timeout, get a play to get the ball into Halliburton's hands, make one free throw, and the game's over. Like that's all you had to do. Like you just had to make one free throw, get the ball inbounds, make one free throw, and the game is over. And the Pacers didn't do that.
Yeah,
and
then the next play, the question is, do you foul? It's always about do you foul when you're down 3? And the Pacers took a ton of heat for this. I actually disagree. Let me rephrase. I disagree with all the heat the Pacers are taking because I do think it's an interesting debate. And I think that I'm not sure where I stand on this because it kind of depends on the 3. But in this particular case, I don't think there was ever a time the Pacers could have fouled. Like that's the thing that is kind of left out of this discussion is this isn't a clear case of, do you foul when you're up 3 or not? That to me, that kind of makes sense when the other team's bringing the ball up past half court and you can foul them, right when they're getting across half court. And it's obviously not taking a shot. What the Celtics did, which was smart, is they got the ball immediately to Brown in the corner in a spot where he could easily throw up a shot. And so you're kind of in a spot where I don't think you can foul there because you better foul in a way that he's not going to get the ball off and not get a flagrant foul. Like you don't want a 4-point play. And, so I think that's a little bit unfair in that case because it wasn't as simple as just fouling or not fouling. Because I think the way that Boston got the ball in and where they had it, I don't think there was ever a place for the Pacers to foul.
Totally agree. And yeah, I'm a proponent of fouling up 3 given the opportunity, but there was no opportunity for Siakam to foul. Now, where I
Right.
have an issue is the way the Pacers played it. They were fighting through screens when the Celtics didn't have a timeout. There was at this point like 6 seconds left or something like that in the game. You know they're going to shoot a 3 there. Like they don't have a timeout, so they can't advance the ball
Right.
the next time down. So they're not going to shoot a 2. So like, who cares if they slip it and get a layup? Like you're gonna get the ball back. You can now call your timeout that you saved and go down and shoot free throws, and then they've got like 2 seconds to get a heave off, or you can play the whole foul game again or whatever you want to do. But like to me, it's switch everything on the perimeter. Like do not let them get a clean look, and they didn't do that. Pascal got screened, which is what he's saying. Like I didn't foul because I got screened and I kind of got there late. It's like, well, why aren't we fighting through screens when we know they need a 3? Like
Right.
that's going to get him free. Like that to me was the mistake on that play. It was how they guarded it. It wasn't that they didn't foul because, like you said, he caught it basically in shooting motion. Now he did pump fake, but you don't know he's going to do that. If you foul in that way, he's going to feel it, and then he's going up, and he's getting 3 free throws or an and 1 or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, I struggled with how it was guarded, but not the fouling.
Finally, the Pacers still had like 6 seconds left or 5 seconds left at the end of regulation. And it's funny, I tweeted out earlier from the RightUpMeridian Twitter account. I'm going to try and start using that a little bit more. But it's like Halliburton had a 3 at the end of the half. Halliburton had a 3 at the end of the third. And this was before the fourth. I was like, maybe we're going to get a Halliburton end of the game 3 to like 3 for 4 quarter enders. He had the ball. And, you're asking a lot here, but, he had a really clean look from like 40 feet, a shot that he can take, he can make. It's about 10 feet behind the 3-point line. It's damn near the logo, but I would have rather him just take that clean look with like 3 seconds to go. But he ended up then dribbling over toward the bench, getting in a rough spot, got completely eaten up by Tatum. There's some contact there. I mean, if I'm the Oklahoma City Thunder, I'm super, super effing annoyed that it's like, so you call the foul on us to end the series, but like Tatum can do that, and that's not a foul. I mean, hear me out. I'm Pacers through and through. Like, I don't think you call what Tatum did a foul at the end of the game either. So I'm not saying it should be. I'm just saying I think Tatum had way more contact than SGA did at the end of his game. Just little consistency, NBA, is all I'd like to see. That said, like, I think Halliburton was looking for too much when you have 6 seconds. If you get a clean look, even if it's from 40 feet, he's got the range. I would have much rather him just fire. I thought he was actually going to. It looked like he was getting ready to go in the pocket and then started dribbling right and then put himself in a spot where he wasn't going to get a shot.
Agreed. And this was, again, and it's so easy, I know, to like Monday morning quarterback this and see it, but something that was really odd / interesting, I guess, to me is that multiple times this year when the Pacers have been in similar situations with like 5, 6 seconds left, Rick Carlisle's not called a timeout.
Right.
He's relied on the Pacers to, get down the floor, and they think, you basically aren't letting the defense get set and ready for you, and that's where the Pacers are better. Well, for some reason in this instance, he did call that timeout, and the defense got set. So it was a little perplexing in that regard as well.
I hear that. I would also say I think this is a spot when Brown hits that 3, the place is going just absolutely bonkers. And at that point, you probably need the timeout to kind of clear even just the Pacers' heads to be like, guys, we still have 6. Like, I hear you, and you might be right. And maybe there's a feel for like, you catch them off guard because they're like, holy crap, we just tied the game. But it did feel like the Pacers were completely shell-shocked at that point.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
It just, in that regard, I could think of 4 or 5 times this year. I don't think any of them works. And maybe Carlisle's just like, hey,
yeah,
we've tried this before and it didn't work. But I do think the Pacers are better in a scenario where the defense isn't set and they can kind of push the pace a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you could critique that a million ways. Hell, the way they were playing, they might have just thrown it right to the Celtics for the game, in terms of the turnover.
Or they could have not gotten it in. They could have just had a 5-second call. So, I mean, Yeah, I went straight to the end. You did a good job of laying out some of the game stuff. It's like you have a great game from Miles Turner, just comes up huge. There's that moment where TJ McConnell goes down, and it's like I go to my wife. I'm like, I can't believe I'm like this scared about the health of McConnell. It's like our 7th, 8th man, but I'm like, my God, if he can't go, we're done. He came back. All right, let's. To me, there's 2 ways to look at this. Is that one way is you pissed away a chance to win a game, which is true. And if you're going to somehow win this series, you are now basically going to have to win 5 out of 7 because you just won 1, but you don't have anything to show for it. So you're going to have to win 4 out of 6, but you're going to end the series going 5 of 7. That's really a lot to ask.
Especially against this team.
You had a chance to really, that crowd was quiet. Game 2 would have been, if that would have been close, then suddenly they're looking like the Celtics are like, holy shit, this is not, we're about to go down 3-0 to, another Cinderella story. Like, this cannot happen. I'm bummed, man. Here's a positive way to look at it is, dude, we played tough against this team. Like, this means nothing. This is not a stat. I don't know about you. I was less scared when the Celtics were on offense than I felt like when the Knicks were on offense in this series. Like the Knicks, they was like, Jesus Christ. Like, I know what Brunson's going to do. They're going to get 5 rebounds. Like, it was like holding on for dear life. Not saying the Celtics are worse, but just I had a different feel watching the Celtics game where it felt like we could get more done and it didn't feel like as much of a slog as the Knicks. So there's that. We can attack the living hell out of Horford, which they're doing. So there's a world where I leave this game being like, why can't we hang with this team? Why can't we win game 2, come back and win 2 at home?
Yeah. And I tried to put myself in like the Celtics fan shoes and like how I would feel after that game. I'd be a little nervous. Like, because they had a great game from Tatum and Brown played well. And then you had a otherworldly offensive performance from Drew Holiday, which is not the norm. He was averaging like 10 points a game his last 10 prior to this. So, like, they had some performances. Derek White had a good game. They shot decently well from the three-point line outside of Horford. They got to the line a lot and made their free throws at an 80% clip. So, like, there's a part of them, too, where it's like, first of all, they're kind of in a Knicks situation where they're going to play 6-7 guys the majority of the minute. Like, Hauser played 9 minutes, and then 7 guys played 13 or more. And really, Cornette played 13. The only guy on the bench that really played a significant role was Pritchard. He played 23 minutes. But their starting lineup played 46, 40, 48, 42, 44 minutes. Like, if you're going to do that, you kind of run into a Knicks situation where it's like the Pacers are used to running and gunning, and you kind of wear on them a little bit in these back-to-back games. So there's that scenario too, where like I feel much better about the Pacers bench than I do about the Celtics bench. Like if I was a Celtics fan, I'd be worried about bench minutes because that's when the Pacers kept coming back last night. The main concern comes from now you're winning 5 out of 7. Like that's really hard to do. It's hard to bounce back from a game like that where you kind of you had it and then you don't. Like I have a pretty big fear that tomorrow's a blowout in the Celtics regard, just because of like the magnitude. But like we've talked about on this podcast, like every time the Pacers have their backs against the wall, they've figured it out.
Yeah, they're like goldfish. We keep saying it, like goldfish. You look at the last 2 series, game 1 against Milwaukee, they just get completely pantsed. They just look like a mess. They come back and win the game. Game 1 against the Knicks, similarly, they feel like they had it kind of taken from them from the, by the refs. And it's like, shit, we got to win 5 of 7. Well, they did. And they came back in game 2. And while they lost game 2, they were really competitive. And so, there was that. But I wonder if this is just a different way of losing. Like there's a way of just, you got completely your ass kicked. And it's like, all right, we got to change some stuff. And we're, all right, you got that behind us now. Then the refs one is like, all right, we know it's tough. We got to fight the refs too. And like you bitch a little bit too much about the refs. This one is like, dude, we had it. Like we had it and we are the ones who screwed it up. And I do wonder, like you, is this is this the bridge that's too far where it's like, shit, man? And then it's like you start to actually think about, we really could have missed an opportunity to beat the Celtics. And honestly, this is one of those where I don't know if the Pacers could win this series anyway, but if they play them tough at home, like if we come back to Indy and we win both the games here and then we end up losing the series, it's going to be like, dude, we maybe really had a chance to win this series more than we thought. As we stand right now, if the Celtics end up just kicking the shit out of us in the next 3 games and we get swept, it's like, all right, well, maybe it would have been a 5-game series. Like it's
right.
We don't know what we lost the last night, except for obviously 1 game. But I, like you, wonder if this is the bridge that's too far for this team to mentally kind of just compartmentalize it and put it away.
Yeah, it's tough, but I think that's the beauty of it, of having a young team and a veteran coach. Like Rick Carlisle's seen it
Great
all.
Point.
And you know, he's lost in heartbreaking fashion before, and he kind of knows, like you said, compartmentalizing,
Yep.
you know, and being able to move past this. Like I liked the body language and the words of Halliburton yesterday during his press conference. He was just like, you know, we made some turnovers, can't dwell on it, got to go win the next one. Like versus like, you know, kind of doom and gloom, like how I felt. and you know, basically was tweeting through it because I was just like so bummed about the game. But yeah, you know, I think the Pacers showed, you know, I do think if the Bucks and the Knicks were healthy, the Pacers lose by 30 last night, right? Isn't that the narrative? Right?
Yeah. They wouldn't even have been in the playoffs if everyone else is healthy. Yeah, no other team has ever played an unhealthy team to get there.
Not even the opponent they're playing right now. But yeah, so it stinks. So my wife and I went to the Pacers watch party last night at Brothers. That was fun. The vibes were really high until they weren't. But you know, it was neat because it just kind of brought me back to like a decade ago, and then like even like, you know, the early 2000s Pacers games and teams, and like there was just a really cool energy about it that, you know, I don't think that would be there, you know, last season or 2 years ago. Like I really think that this team has kind of taken the fan base on such a fun ride. That's why it was so disappointing yesterday, obviously, because it was like, damn, like they had a shot. But yeah, it was cool to see. Like I've been obviously to a couple playoff games now, and like the Gamebridge atmosphere is awesome. But this was the first time I've gone like in a public setting to watch a game, and it was really cool. Like I thought that it was fun. Like, you know, fans were chanting defense, like they can hear us, you know, and like it was fun to be a part of. Obviously, wish it turned out better, but at the same time, like I'm really excited about the vibes around this team and kind of what they've done and hopefully what they can do as this series moves forward.
Agreed. And you know, the thing that keeps me that helped me calm down last night, and hopefully this helps other people out there, is just that feeling of, you know, it's still a really young team. And this is part of that maturation process. You know, I was thinking that it's a horrible comp, so apologize for it in advance, because, you know, Halliburton this is his first playoff run. But, you know, what I was thinking about last night is in the 84 finals, Magic Johnson, who, again, I know at that point had won a finals, was Magic Johnson kind of already, but he had a horrible finals. I think he like couldn't get the shot off at the end of one of the games. And the narrative coming out of it was that he got the nickname Tragic Johnson. And that was a narrative for an entire year until they came back and beat the Celtics in, I think it was 85. They came back and beat the Celtics in 85 in the finals. And then, you know, Magic Johnson kind of became, that he took that away. But, you know, I wondered with Halliburton dribbling the ball just straight out of bounds is, you know, it happens to even the best, like Magic Johnson. And I do hope that this becomes these learning experiences, no matter where this playoff run ends, where Halliburton can come back and do whatever Magic Johnson did in the offseason and come back and kind of use that to fuel. So that's what kept me positive. Now that I'm sitting here talking to you, the other thing that I'll say, that's the scary, not negative part of this, but just the worrisome part is, and I hate saying this, but it's true, you don't know how many good bites at the apple you're going to get. And this is a young team, and this is a flawed team. But if you could take down the Celtics, you got to do it. And if you can get to the finals, go do it. And who the hell knows? And maybe it's just like, this is the year it's open. And this is, you look at Carlisle. We talked a lot about, the 2011 Mavs versus that Heat team in the last pod. And I was thinking we failed to mention that was a team coached by Rick Carlisle. It's funny.
Right.
But, that was probably the only year the Mavs could have won that title. The years before, they tried it with Dirk, and they were getting bounced. Like, it didn't happen because it didn't happen. The years after, I think at that point, LeBron had kind of unlocked all that the Heat could offer him with Dwayne Wade and Bosh, and, like, they were not going to be beat. That was the year. And they cashed it in. And that's the only thing that I'm slightly concerned about, is that windows open and close really quickly. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but there is a world where it's like, dude, you're close. It's tough to suddenly just be like, oh, man, it's all, we got 5 more years of this, because you just don't know. So that's the only part that is concerning to me, is you don't want to piss away real good opportunity. Not that anybody intentionally did that, but just that's the frustrating part as a fan, being like, damn, this is just one of those like fluke titles that's just sitting there to be gotten, and we're not going to get it.
Yeah, nothing's guaranteed. Like that's the main thing, is like, you're never guaranteed to get back to this moment, and just had a great opportunity that they missed. A really interesting stat from last night that I thought,
no stats, Pacers, no info, nothing from last night. I want no info from last night. We're done.
The Pacers turned over 22 times to the Celtics 15, but the Pacers had 32 points off turnovers versus the Celtics 21. So that was an interesting. The Pacers actually were plus 11 in points off turnovers last night, even though they turned the ball over like crazy, like very uncharacteristically as well, which to me paints a better picture for the Pacers in game 2, because the rest of their offense was pretty standard, standard shot making, 37% from 3, 53% from the field, moved the ball really well, 38 assists on 53 made field goals, but the turnovers were super high, which isn't common. So to me, like, if you can get yourself 10 extra possessions that you just threw the ball away last game, I don't think the Celtics are going to be able to stop the Pacers offense, especially without the rim protection of Porzingis. Like, you can, like you said, you can attack the piss out of Horford and go from there. I still think the Pacers now, Carlisle straight put the game 1 on him and said, this is on me. I still think the Pacers have the coaching advantage from a macro standpoint here. I think they're going to watch the film. That is a thing I keep coming back to. Like, the Pacers were down 2-0 against the Knicks. I know the Knicks are a worse team than the Celtics. They pissed one away. But
you're with me, like, just watching the games. I was way more nervous about the Knicks than I felt like I ever was against the Celtics last night, even when they were up like 12-0. I guess when they were up 12-0 was the only time I was kind of scared. Once we got back to like 12-7, I never got to that point where I was like, shit, man, I'm really scared of this team. Where there was moments with the Knicks series, I'm just like, I don't know how we can beat this team.
Yeah, and to me, I think some of that is like the underdog nature, where, like, to me, the Pacers were kind of the favorites in the first 2 series just because of the injury stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was like, you have to win. Like, if we don't win here, like, you're squandering an opportunity, where versus the Celtics, it's like, we're not supposed to win. We're not supposed to be here. That's what I tweeted last night. I'm like, man, I went into this series like, whatever happens. This is gravy. Pacers, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then, like, I couldn't sleep after the game last night. It's like,
I know.
What? It's just because of the opportunity they had and how well they played, and just like they looked like the better team outside of that first.
They really did. That
first, 5 minutes or whatever it was, like they looked like the better team. The Celtics relied on more ISO ball, and they have better players. Like, they probably have definitely the best player in the series, probably the 2 best players in the series. But like the Pacers, like I just remember a play where like ball moved around the perimeter, then it went to Siakam, and then Siakam hit Turner in the post, and it was like just beautiful ball movement, and the Pacers got an easy layup, and it's like, man, like that is fun to watch. And I think that's what like the announcers like JJ Redick and stuff that's seen the Pacers multiple times now are starting to see, like this team's fun,
Yeah.
especially offensively. Now
Let's
they
maybe put them on a couple more national games, huh? Like maybe.
how about that? Christmas Day? We were talking Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. Let's go. I mean, at least more than just one NBA game against the Pelicans, NBA TV game against the Pelicans, for F's sake. All right. So, and I texted this to you too, and you saw it. This is a problem the Celtics have, and it reared its head again last night. As you're mentioning, the Pacers do a fantastic job of moving the ball. You were mentioning your play, which wasn't, I was thinking of it. It wasn't the play. There was a play where I think like Halliburton drove, hit Siakam. Siakam was under the post and then like pump faked and then hit Turner or Toppin, who was coming in. Like just perfect, like 3-man little 2 pocket passes. So many good movement plays. But you saw with the Celtics, they find these matchups. It's like, ooh, we have Tatum on, Nembhard. And they go to Tatum, and then it just turns into ISO ball for 5 seconds. And they sometimes get really good shots out of it, but you see their offense just grind down. And it's like, oh, there's the matchup. And that's something the Celtics, that's a feature, not a bug. Like that's something this team does is they hunt matchups, but they don't hunt it in a way like the Pacers were kind of hunting Horford and then like, boom, attack, boom, like as part of their offense, couple quick passes. Oh, we got him, boom, shot. The Celtics attack it, and then it's like, all right, now ISO. It's like in NBA 2K where you then run the pick and roll, but you got to get everybody off to the side. It's like it takes 5 seconds to get everybody lined up, and it really slogs their offense down. And when they miss a couple of those shots, it kind of takes them 2 or 3 more plays to kind of get back into, all right, let's just run offense. And I think that that's going to continue to be a problem for them because they've been doing it all season.
100%. And like, to me, as of right now, like the run that Jalen Brunson went on, like you had to have a guard on him in Nembhard or Nesmith or whatever the case may be. Whereas like with Tatum, you can put a little bit more length in terms of like a Siakam or something on him and kind of corral that. Like I'm with you in terms of like, I know Tatum had 36 last night.
Yep.
I was much more worried about Brunson and like his ability to attack with the ball in his hands than I was about Tatum last night, because Brunson was on an otherworldly run as well. But I think the Pacers can corral Tatum a little bit better than they were able to corral Brunson, just given the nature of like the size advantage / disadvantage that the Pacers have at that, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. So a high level, you've been more optimistic as we've gone along than I have been. I maybe am flipping. Like I actually, I'm not sure game 2 is going to be a blowout. I think we can play with this team. I really do. I'm not sure we're going to win. We might get swept. I don't see any blowouts coming. I just don't. And maybe I'm totally wrong.
And it could be the reverse. Like the Celtics have taken their foot off the gas multiple times. Like throughout, like at least one stinker in each series they've had against teams that I think are very much inferior to the Pacers.
And it's possible this is like the Celtics, like, whew, we snuck one out. Like this is maybe they come with their stinker. I mean, dude, every game 2 in their series thus far, they've lost. And I do think that the home atmosphere at Gamebridge is different than Miami and it's different than Cleveland. I think, and the Pacers are shown
definitely different than Miami. Miami, they're like showing up like 25 minutes into the game.
Oh yeah, I know. And they're like, so when's LeBron get in? Like, why isn't LeBron here yet? Like, oh, he's not on the team anymore. All right, at least we have Dwayne Wade. Shaq, is he still playing? Yeah. So I'm trying to be optimistic. I really am. I don't want to think we just pissed away a series or a chance at it. I don't think we did. And I really left last night being like, I think we can play with this team. And even when they had those runs, what was different is that 12-0 run. We've seen that against the Bucks and we see that against the Knicks. Every time those games happened previously against those two teams, when the Pacers counterpunched, they got punched back and it just got extended. Celtics weren't able to do that. Like they tried, they weren't able to. And that's something where it's almost like, all right, man, we took your best shot too. And we were still standing and we went to overtime. Whereas we took some shots from the Bucks and then the Bucks just boat raced the living hell out of us. And same thing with the Knicks. The Knicks would just go nuts. I really feel if the Pacers can get their heads right and if they're in the right mental space and they really are, be a goldfish like Ted Lasso, I think they can really compete in this series. And I think they can compete with this Celtics team. I was not as impressed with the Celtics as I thought I was going to be. So I leave very optimistic. I'm still not ready to say we're going to win the series, but I think we have a real shot in game 2, and I think we're going to hold serve this weekend at home.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like I love the way this team plays, and you know the Pacers are prone to a stinker. It seems too. Like in each series, they've game 5
yes.
Is in particular.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they haven't lost a home game in 2 months. Knock on wood. I keep doing that.
Yep.
But you know you competed like hell in game 1 off of pretty much no rest in a 7-game series. So it's like there's a part of you as a Pacers player, you got to feel good about like team's not better than us. Like you know we pissed one away, but we're gonna go get tomorrow. And I do like that it's a quick turnaround. Like flush it and get back out there.
Yep. No, and it's going to be quick turnarounds the rest of the way. Just game off. Which there were moments the Celtics look a little tired. I mean, the Pacers pushed the pace. They're doing the full court stuff. There were moments in the game the Celtics looked not as tired as the Bucks or the Knicks did, but they did look a little bit wary. And as you mentioned, they only played 8 guys, and Hauser only played 9 minutes. They were playing 7 dudes. That's going to start to wear on them, especially when one of them is Al Horford, who's 38 years old. And then the other 2 are Pritchard and Cornette, which, you know, oddly, it's funny. You look at this, it's like neither of those guys scare me as much as Deuce McBride did last series, or even Precious Achiuwa at times, or you know, some of the guys the Knicks had coming off the bench. I don't know, man.
And
I'm positive.
And to me, like the Drew Holiday defense stuff like that, to me was essentially not a huge factor last night. Obviously, the Halliburton turnover, people are going to give that credit to Drew Holiday of like forcing that. But like I thought McConnell attacked Drew Holiday well. Yeah. I thought Halliburton attacked Drew Holiday well. Like to me, that wasn't as much of a factor as I thought it might have been, especially with Halliburton. Like in game 1s, those have been his worst games pretty much in each series. So last night I was kind of expecting like him to kind of go through this feeling out process with Holiday guarding him and stuff. But like he was solid. He was money. I'm going to
pause on that point for a second. It feels like we have 90% of Halliburton back. Like it's over the last 3 games, ever since that game 5 stinker where he took a ton of heat. It's like, dude, this looks like what we're getting back with Halliburton. And he, you know, for a guy that I was nervous about in the last series, like, is this guy really able to shoulder the load? He looked like a leader of an Eastern Conference Finals team last night. Like, no question.
100%. And now the next step in his career is like maintain that, you know, got to see it game 2, 3, 4, you know, all the way through this series to kind of reach that superstardom. But yeah, man, to me, it had a lot of parallels to, I think it was the first time we played the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, game 1, the Pacers led like wire to wire, had a lead, and then let it slip away. And then Frank Vogel pulled Roy Hibbert out of the game.
Yeah.
And LeBron James made a game-winning layup. And it was just like, damn it. Like, what are we doing here? Like, why did you pull Hibbert? And I remember that getting a lot of press. But to me, it has a lot of parallels of that. Like, the Pacers pissed one away, but then you kind of walked away like, oh, shit. Like, we could compete. Like,
and that series went 7, right? The one you're talking about?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. I
think the Pacers actually went up 2-1 in that series. I think they won game 2 after they pissed that game 1 away, and then they won the first one at home. And then I think that series was the 6-game series, and the following year was 7. I think the Heat won the final 3, but the Pacers ended up taking a 2-1 lead in that series.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll probably do something after game 2, depending on how that goes before we get into the weekend. But it felt like we needed to decompress after that, because that was my son stayed up for it. We're actually going to, Tony doesn't know this, I did earlier I recorded something with my son this morning. He had to go to the orthodontist. Oh, nice. So we're going to get James on the podcast. It's funny. I hate when Bill Simmons would have his kids, and now I'm doing it. So I'm as guilty as anybody else. It's short, man.
I love it.
It's like 3 minutes, or you can just not listen. But he wanted to say his thoughts on the game, and it was cute. No real insight. Maybe just like our pod. We're cute, and there's no real insight.
We're cute, no real insight. That's our slogan.
That's fair enough. We should change. It's not a bad slogan. but I'm sitting there with him last night. It's like it's wild. You're a parent as well, and you'll start to see being able to actually watch games with your kids when they know things. It's there's a part of me as a dad. It's like, why am I getting you into this? It's like, he's so into the Pacers. He loves Miles Turner. He was going bananas, and then when the Browns shot went down, he just looked totally deflated. In overtime, he's just sitting there like shell shocked, and it's like, yeah, man, like, sorry, this is a gut like
us.
this is a gut punch, dude. Like, there's hopefully not as many to come, but this is going to happen again. And this is the sucky parts about sports, man. Like, you're not going to win a title every year, but this was I mentioned, Bill Simmons has his like levels of losing. This felt like it was on that level of losing somewhere. This was a real gut punch game. This one sucked.
No fun.
And it was interesting watching my 11-year-old go through it. He was still bummed this morning, as was I.
Me too.
You, I was like, I needed to just get this off my chest. So, Tony, it's been awesome, and hopefully, we see a better effort in game. We see the same effort and a better closing mentality for game 2.
Absolutely.
All right. With that, I will now bring my son James onto the podcast. All right, something fun to end out here. If you can't do fun stuff on your own podcast, why have a podcast, right? So my oldest son, James, has gotten way into the NBA, and officially at this point may even know more NBA history than me. It's bananas. He's gone to almost all of the games this season at home. He's gone to all of the playoff games that even I haven't gone to. So we're at a point now where my wife and I have to take turns going to games because James is like, well, I'm going to all of them. So he let him stay up last night. He's 11. He stayed up to watch the game last night. We're going to get his thoughts on Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And he's going to get closer to the mic. There we go.
Okay. So I think that we played really well, but in the final couple of seconds, we got a bit too many turnovers. We let Jaylen Brown hit that 3, and then in OT we just started to kind of shut down, and we let Tatum get a lot of open shots.
Fair point. What do you think was the biggest mistake at the end of regulation? What was it? Was it Halliburton's turnover? Was it not inbounding the ball, or was it not fouling on a 3?
It was probably not inbounding a ball or Halliburton's turnover, because not fouling on the 3, I feel like Brown still could have had a chance at making that. So.
And then a 4-point play would have been disastrous.
And then Boston would have won.
I talked about this earlier in the pod. Why do you think we were throwing to Siakam? Because he's like our worst free throw shooter.
Wait, when was that?
We were inbounding when we didn't get the ball inbounded.
Oh.
They were actually trying to inbound to Siakam.
I really don't know. I think that it was because they thought he would be able to make a play instead of getting fouled.
Okay.
So that's probably what they were thinking.
What do you think happens from here on out in the series?
I think that it's either I feel like this next game is gonna be a huge deciding factor. Like, if we win, then it could end up going to 7. If the Celtics win, then they're probably gonna either sweep us or win in 5.
You don't think we're gonna win all the home games?
I don't. I'm not very confident about winning against one of the best teams in NBA history.
But you'll be there, game 3 and 4, right?
Yeah.
Gold out?
Yeah.
Ready to roll?
Yeah.
All right, get Gamebridge rocking?
Yeah.
All right, man. That's James. Hope you enjoyed, and thank everybody for listening. For the Right Up Meridian podcast, this is Scott, signing off.